Same weird family, new weird problems. Yet this continuation of Umbrella Academy, for some reason, feels fresh, vibrant, and way more fun. With its focus on character development, incredible soundtrack, and finally owning what sort of show it wants to be, Season 2 is a must-watch. Grab your commission-issued briefcase and dive into a new timeline. What's up, guys? I'm Kris Carr, and today I'm talking to you about Umbrella Academy Season 2. Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to our super nerd sponsor of the day, Lauren Linton. Thanks to heroes like Lauren, I get to keep sharing my love of comics and binging Netflix shows with y'all. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you want to pitch in, head on over to our Patreon page and see if a donation tier works for you. We'll thank you kindly in return. We're excited to announce that Nerdwire is partnering with our sister brands, The Fumble and Holly Scoop, in a fundraising campaign for the Equal Justice Initiative. The EJI is an incredible nonprofit organization that provides legal aid and assistance to those who need it most. There's a link below where you can donate directly to them. I'll fill you in with more details at the end of this video. While this review will be avoiding major spoilers, I will say, if you don't want to know a single solitary thing about the show, turn back now. This is a review after all. If you do want spoilers, make sure you've hit the bell so you'll be notified when my What to Expect from Season 3 video drops. I am going to assume, though, that every Umbrella Academy fan tuned into that amazing pre-released footage online. That opening sequence, which was supposed to be shown at San Diego Comic-Con, was released on Twitter Wednesday and gave fans a glimpse of what they were in store for. The Umbrella Academy assembling, 5 once again having some glitches with time travel, Soviets attacking the US, and, of course, impending doom. Is it even the Umbrella Academy if the apocalypse isn't involved? Now, I had the good fortune of having watched the entire series thanks to Netflix prior to this clip's release, and it definitely made me even more excited for you all to experience the show. Let's jump in. Now, if you watched my Season 1 review, you'll know I wasn't completely over the moon with the Umbrella Academy. I liked it, but there were a few things here and there that didn't just sing for me. They deviated from the comics, and as an Umbrella Academy fan, I was a little disappointed in a few of the choices they made. But you guys, I took your advice, I rewatched the series for what it was, and you were right. Viewing it as its own entity made for a way better viewing experience. So diving into Season 2, I made the active choice to watch the show at face value, vowing to not compare it to the comics. And boy howdy, I am glad I did, because they took a hard left turn. And honestly, I think it works for the better. If you are curious about the events that go down in the Umbrella Academy comics, I, of course, always first implore you to go to your local brick and mortar and grab yourself some copies. But in this time of quarantine, I get that that's not possible, possibly. I've got a video breaking down the comics if you are up for a compare and contrast. Now, Season 1 interwove a few of the events from the Dallas comic arc and continued to use some of those ideas and concepts in Season 2. When we last left the adopted siblings, they had accidentally blown up the moon and used Five's powers to avoid the apocalypse. The gang is transported to Dallas, Texas in the 1960s, but not all at the same time. Klaus and consequently Ben arrive in 1960, Allison in 61, Luther 62, and Diego in early 1963. Vanya comes in October of 63, and Five shortly arrives thereafter, right before the apocalyptic schniz hits the fan. Thanks to this latest time snafu, the Hargreaves children's presence in this part of the timeline alters it, triggering a nuclear war between the US and Russia. Quick side quest, I would also like to add that Diego is the only Umbrella Academy member to land on his feet in the 1960s. Why? Because he's a mother-flippin' superhero. Displaced in time and alone, each family member must find their way. In this new timeline, the show is able to take a much more character-driven approach as each sibling must deal with the challenges of the time and the complexities of the historical issues they're now living out. Most notably, segregation and the Kennedy assassination. Casting Emmy Raver-Lapman as Allison, aka Number 4, allowed the writers to explore the civil rights movement as it was unfolding from a Black perspective. Allison, a modern-day woman who is fairly privileged given her adopted father's wealth and her rumor powers, is treated less than when back in the time of Jim Crow, and becomes a key figure in the local civil rights movement. This also leads to her relying on herself, not her powers. In an interview with Black Nerd Girls, Raver-Lapman spoke of how the show researched and presented this movement, and why it was so important to include, saying, quote, "The civil rights movement was not that long ago, and I think it feels like, oh, it was in the past, and that fight has been fought, and that we're not dealing with those struggles anymore. It's exciting that this show is giving the civil rights a platform to be on millions and millions and millions of TV screens all over the world, and hopefully shed light that it's nowhere near over. This season, for this reason, feels eerily timely. Watching the sit-ins and the brutality these protesters face mirrors our current situation so much. And this isn't the only historically important thing we face. We're dealing with the Kennedy assassination. As you'll recall from season 1, Five was supposed to make sure that happened as planned thanks to his job at the Time Commission, and we'll be dealing with that a lot. Diego thinks he should save the president, has been stalking Lee Harvey Oswald, and is telling people that JFK is going to be assassinated. This leads to him being institutionalized. There he meets Lila, who has also been committed and takes a shine to Diego. Similarly connected to this event is Luther's new employer, who appears to have some ties to the mob. Our other kids are off doing their own thing. Klaus, who has been stuck here the longest, capitalizes on this time of peace and love and uses Ben's ability to physically interact with him to his advantage. Vanya, who can never catch a break, lands in the 1960s and is immediately hit by a car, causing her to lose her memory. She's taken in by the family that ran her over, and she works as a nanny for their son as she tries to find her family and restore her memories. Now, this could have been such a tired cliche plot device, but Ellen Page does such a remarkable job, you guys. Oh, it is so good to see Vanya so full of life this season. In addition to this new family, we're going to see a lot of other fresh faces, including a character I have been dying to see since the series was announced, the head of the commission, AJ Carmichael, as well as some other original characters like the Swedes, more guns for hire from the commission. We'll also encounter Reginald Hargreaves decades prior to his adopted children being born, and we're going to learn a lot more about this mysterious figure. Definitely be on the lookout for a lot of other familiar faces. This season does feel like it lacks the immediate threat that Assassins Hazel and Cha-Cha posed. Yes, both seasons have an impending apocalypse guiding the plot, but a nefarious figure and the mute IKEA mafia feel more like nuances our heroes have to deal with, despite some atrocities they commit, than actual big bads. Now that being said, the presence of Hargreaves proves to be torment enough for the children. Reginald, despite not having yet met and raised his brood, is completely capable of preying on their deepest insecurities. As I mentioned, what works so much for me in this season is the character-driven nature of the show. Season 2 truly is an ensemble piece, with everyone's story holding equal importance. And that makes sense. Something the show really wants to hit home is that, like it or not, everyone changes the world. Everyone. No individual is capable of being insignificant, and the actions and lives of every single person contribute to the greater tapestry of a timeline. This places each person in the position to be a hero, whether they signed up for it or not. This changes the tone of the show completely. Season 1 is pretty cynical, while Season 2, despite some heavy themes, has so much joy and so much hope. We see the siblings enjoy one another, as opposed to simply being a ragtag bunch of misfits thrown together who hate each other. You see how much they love their siblings, how much they need them. Sure, they squabble, but that's because they're brothers and sisters. And they're so much more playful this time around. Being displaced in time did them a lot of good. I mean, you just can't help but grin when they're verbally sparring one another. They're rapid-fire razzing about all the bananas crap the family has gone through, from dating serial killers to wondering if you can technically date someone who's technically not your sibling, to forming cults, is at the heart of the show. And their kinder, gentler relationship to one another is so refreshing. Sure, the Umbrella Academy is technically about superheroes, but really, it's about a family. And now that the series has decided that it can be so many things, surreal, flippant, pointed, hopeful, it's finally finding its footing. If you want to paint by numbers of the comics, this might not be for you. But hey, that's why there's the comics. Me? I thought this was a wild ride, and I loved every minute of it. And I'm already so frustrated that I'm gonna have to wait at least a year to get more of this story. Once again, I'd like to ask you to join NerdWire in our fundraiser for the Equal Justice Initiative. The Equal Justice Initiative is a nonprofit organization that provides legal representation for prisoners who may have been wrongfully convicted of crimes, for prisoners without effective representation, and others who may have been denied a fair trial. If you want to be part of the movement, there's a donation link below where you can send donations directly to the fund. Anything helps, and we're so glad that we can share this awesome opportunity to donate with you guys. We're not reinventing the superhero genre here. But we are further exploring how family dynamics, those thrown together and chosen, can affect a person. And that families can forgive pretty much anything, so long as you put in the work. Family beef is nothing, as long as you've got dance sequences and are willing to give each other second chances. I know that I'm sure glad that I gave the Umbrella Academy a second chance. Of course, y'all, this is just my opinion on Season 2. The question is, what do you guys think of it? What stood out to you? What were missteps? Hit me with your hot takes in the comments below. Be sure to look out for my next video that will be chock full of spoilers, where we'll be talking about what to expect from Season 3 of the Umbrella Academy. Be sure you hit that like button and bell so we can keep the comics conversation going. Let me know what comic coverage you want next. Thanks for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.